This is your captain speaking, and today we're flying with British Airways in a replay theater of the absurd. This is the Spitfire F Mark 9 at BR 4.3, and this is my very first match in a completely stock plane, which is part of the reason I didn't record it. But Spitfires are a little bit absurd. I'm not going to say they're easy necessarily. I'll just say they're different from the US props that I usually play. The B25 there smokes one of my teammates. I'm going to go over and see if I can't do a little bit of stock grinding. I've got a decent angle here. I stay on target a little bit too long. I get a little bit lucky. But I do take the severe damage without taking any damage in return. And off I go. And towards the end here, I'm actually going to splice in the last match I played in, I think it's the Vb Trop at 3.7, that highlights some of the absurdity that is the Spitfire line. Or really, I guess you could say turn fighters in general, but what the Spitfires do that the Zeros do not, in exchange for being a little bit less turny, is they do much better at speed. They get speed much more quickly. This is a Yak 3 here, the boogeyman of BR 4.3. Unfortunately, flies below a Spitfire, and I mean, what's he going to do there? This is one of those scenarios where the Yak 3 can't just rely on pulling energy out of thin air and holding down the elevator key, the pitch key, to come away victorious. And unfortunately for him, that's a severe damage. And I think the fire might go out before he hits the ground, but he rides that all the way down. Not atypical. I'm going to get another Russian aircraft here a little bit later in the match. And at the times I usually play, on the servers I usually play, Russian teams are not very good. I like the Yak 3, I like the LA7, but the whole reason I'm playing Spitfires, I maybe have 10 matches, 15 matches total in Spitfires at this point, is because the Griffon and the LF Mark 9 are some of the absolute best props in the game. And I figured that rather than just buy the Yak 3U and fly it, I would rather fly a Spitfire. I don't have the emotional attachment to these that a lot of people do. There's people that feel the same way about Spitfires that I do about Thunderbolts or Mustangs. It's not me. I'm just here for the performance. But in that regard, the Spitfires do not disappoint. My teammates dealt handily with a 109 and 190 over there, and there might have been some additional bogeys or bandits initially, but having a good team helps, and there was 3 or 4 players over there, and they just completely handled the high altitude fight, which leaves me back on the grind train. I can see that this PE8 is flying very, very slowly. Once I get close, it looks like he's pretty shot up. So this is a mercy. And I think actually every one of the air-to-air victories I had this match was a severe damage, not an outright air-to-air victory. But that was his wing falling off, and those are important for airplanes, as it turns out. But not one to quit. He too rides it all the way in. And this is a Yak 9, right? Much as promised, much like the Yak 3 below me earlier. There's really no options for him here. Now, he doesn't just have me to contend with. He has my entire team coming in on him. But I already spoiled it for you. I'm going to chop his wingtip off here in a second, and then I'm going to fly back towards base because I'm a little bit low on gas. I think I've got 4 minutes and change. I did take min fuel just to get a sense for what that feels like, and from a quality of life standpoint, I think I'll probably bump the fuel load up a little bit so that I have better endurance and I'm not forced back to base in these longer matches. All right, here's the other clip. And we're just going to introduce it briefly. We've got enemies that have climbed, so there's at least 4 or 5 US props and associated teammates that are high off here to the left. We've got a Key 44. We've got a A6 M5. There's a P61 that has grabbed 1 or 2 frags at this point. So we are kind of right in the middle of the enemy team. And in particular, we are, whoa, wow, extra syllable there. we are headed right towards this sort of cluster of P-51s and other assorted bad guys. And I'm gonna be bait. I'm not trying to throw my plane away, but I am trying to get these guys to commit. I'm trying to pull them down a little bit lower. I want them to turn with me, and I want to try to create opportunities for my teammates, right? Sometimes I'm the guy that gets opportunities. Sometimes I try to be the guy that creates opportunities. But I'm going to dive here, and you can see it there, and the spotting on this is not great, right? So some of those P-51s are going to be back. When I tell you there were 4 or 5 aircraft up there, just trust me, they're going to come back here in a second. But we're diving into this other group of aircraft, and this is the strength of the Spitfire or the Turn Fighter. Normally I would show my pilot's view, but I want you to be able to see this develop. And look at all of the aircraft we have coming in here. And we're just going to spiral all of these guys to the ground. And I take a little bit of damage to my elevator, to my airframe, but nothing to my engine, nothing to my cooling. So no real significant damage, but they do, you can see they hit a couple of shots on me. But now we're just spiraling down 5 different, this is a 1v5, right? Like I pulled into a 1v5, and I am not purely defensive. Like this is me putting rounds on somebody. This is me getting an air-to-air victory in a 1v5 with a Spitfire. And creating an opportunity for my team to come in. So I think that's a Yak 9 in the background. He comes in, he starts smashing these guys that have followed me to the deck, which is exactly what we want. And I like to think that I'd have got this E-44 here, but I did start getting some additional fire from the Mustang, and I think one of my teammates just crushes it here in a second. But that's the point. Again, I'm not trying to say that they're easy. I'm just trying to say that they're different, right? Could I imagine winning a 1 versus 5 or being able to tangle in a 1 versus 5 furball and set people up for my teammates in a Mustang or a Corsair? Not really, but it worked out here. And you can see this is it. Of the 1v5, there's that one Mustang running away that my teammate gets, and it's me. I'm the only one of the enemy of that 1v5 that survives the furball. So there you go. That's the strength of the Spitfire, if you will, when you're in a fight with people that you just radically outmaneuver. And here we are back to the original match. There's not much to see here in the remainder. It's a B-25, who to his credit actually maneuvers on me here, but I mentioned that I was below 4 minutes of fuel before. I was just trying to bag an AI target on the way back to base. But I decide I'll tee this B-25 up, do the friend thing for my team here. I make a pretty substantial mistake. I assume that he's going to pull in for me here. He doesn't. He obviously doesn't. I should have flattened this turn out. And this is me throwing away my chance to kill him right here. Just a bad decision on my part, because now I don't have the closure. I do get a couple of hits. I'm relatively close to the the forward airfield. So even though I'm flashing red, 2 minutes or whatever of gas at this point, I'm going to push this. I'm going to push the head on here, and I get an assist out of it. That's not bad, but my teammates are going to mop him up here in a second. And I mean that's it. Like that's a 4 frag match in a small lobby with maybe 10 aircraft per side in a completely stocked plane from a guy that has flown Spitfires for maybe 15 matches total.